Welcome, everyone, to today's LinkedIn Live on how to make your contact center sales program successful. Today, Michael and I are going to get really practical about what's working, what's not working, and what consistently separates high performing sales centers from the rest. Because the truth is, contact centers are one of the most powerful revenue engines in business, but only when they're designed, staffed, and enabled to actually sell, not just support. And for those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Lauren Kindzierski. I'm the head of sales, head of strategy and innovation here at VXI. And
And
alongside
I'm Michael. And I'm Michael Aronowitz, SVP of Revenue Growth. Welcome back, everybody.
all right, without further ado, let's jump right on into it. So, my first question for you, Michael, is you have seen hundreds of centers throughout your career. When you walk into one and immediately know, man, this place is going to crush their targets, what are the 2 or 3 tells that you notice in the first 5 minutes?
So when I walk in, it's like when you walk into a stadium and the lights go down and the players come on the field, and you feel that energy, or if you get up in the middle of a hockey game and you come back in, you could feel the energy. So when I walk into a contact center that has a sales program, the first thing I want to do is, are people standing? Is there a wall of fame? Are there trophies? What's on the board? You feel that energy. If it's really quiet and you don't hear anybody, it's not a sales center. So the first thing is the energy level. The second thing is the aesthetics of the room. Is there a wall of fame? Who's the contest today? Am I seeing trophies? What's the giveaway? What's the monthly giveaway, the daily giveaway, the weekly giveaway? Is it TVs? Is it iPhones, laptop, bicycles? Like, that's how I know I'm walking into a contact center that's sales driven.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, there's a big difference between a customer service center and a sales center, and it has to do with energy. So, with that being said, what is the best sales center that you've ever seen in action? And what was their one secret sauce that they had that everyone else is missing?
So many years ago, I had a boss who called me up and said, "Hey, I was in Indiana and you got to see this sales center is the best in the world." And me, having a big ego, said, "No way, we have the best center in the world." He's like, "Just go there and check it out." So I flew to Indiana. They sold security. And when I walked in, you could see the magic happening. It was all the things I talked about the TV screens, the contest, the wall of fame, the music was going, the people were standing up, there was someone running contests. And what I noticed was you had people walking around who were the closers. So when an agent's hand went up and they needed help, the closer got on the call. They jumped right in. When an agent was struggling, that may have been new, the sales coach jumped in right on the floor. There was so much collaboration and team things going on, and the noise and who was winning. You had sale, boom, people clapping.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it was the best contact center for sales that I've ever seen. And it was like a well-run, oiled machine. And you couldn't help but feel the energy in there. It's like when you watch Virginia Tech to Enter Sandman and everyone's standing up. That's what I felt like on this floor. Like,
Yes.
I just wanted to pick a headset up and start selling. That's how good it was.
Yeah. I would have to say throughout my career, one of the best sales centers I've ever seen in action, hands down, was Quicken Loans. And it's because of exactly what you described. It was the culture, it was the leadership, it was the energy. People are walking around with their headsets on. They weren't attached to a cubicle, right? And the motivation. I mean, Quicken lives and breathes their sales culture.
Yeah.
So 100% agree. Now, Michael, VXI has won over 16 awards in the past 2 years for the work we do in sales. Can you tell the audience what is our secret sauce?
Absolutely not. I'm not telling our secret sauce because it's secret. But what I will tell you is that behind that secret sauce are the basic fundamentals that you need to ask yourself. For example, one of the best recruiting teams I've ever seen was out of Spain. And they ran their recruiting team as a sales team. They had a morning huddle, an end of the day huddle. They had whiteboards. They knew how many people they were going to reach out to, how many they were going to talk to, and they were compensated by their success of the person they hired 90 days later. The second thing is the secret sauce is your trainers. And one of the things that you'll hear me talk about all the time is tell me the experience of the trainers. Lots of companies are good and they have the best trainers in the world, but they're PowerPoint trainers. I want a trainer, if we're training for outbound, that has sat in the seat and dialed 125 people a day and been hung up on 124 times. Someone that's been in the field to overcome objections and do all of that. So the second part of the secret sauce are your trainers. Are they just PowerPoint trainers? Are they running things throughout the day, which we can talk about later? And then your ops people. The reason why we're able to win awards is because of the people who are running a program that have the experience, the desire, and the wherewithal to win. But there's not just one secret sauce. There's a lot of combinations that come together, like the Colonel's secret recipe has more than just fried chicken.
Yep.
So that's what we do here. We build specific programs that are built around conversion, helping companies lower their cost per acquisition, drive more revenue per interaction, creating a higher lifetime value. Things that we win with because we do it the right way. It's as far as I'll go on the secret sauce.
Fair enough. So we talked about successful sales programs. Let's switch gears. Why do you think most contact center sales programs fail? What is it?
I give you a laundry list, but top 3 answers on the board, they hired the wrong leadership. When you sit down and you look at successful sports organizations, why do my Jets historically fail year in and year out and have the longest playoff drought? They keep changing head coaches. They keep changing GMs. They haven't found the right leadership. That's why these programs fail. They don't put the right people in place. Hey, Mike's been an agent for 4 years. He's really good agent. Let's make him the leader. We take someone from a care program and we put them on a sales program. Leadership is the number one reason why people fail. And the second reason is what I talked about. They don't have the right recruiters. They don't have the right trainers. And so they don't have the right infrastructure. It's not like lift and shift, mix and match. Outbound is completely different than inbound and retention. And there's different types of sales programs. Just like, you can't take the greatest football coach of all, Bill Belichick, and make him a basketball coach just because he's a coach, right? So just because he's a contact center agent in sales and they're great on inbound, you can't put them on outbound. They fail because of the people, bad process, bad tools, and zero technology. That's what they fail.
Yep. I couldn't agree. And a lot of times too, you'll see the top service agent. Okay, now let's have them sell. Let's have them do
Right.
cross-sell, upsell. Well, 2 completely different skill sets. And you have to you have to make sure that you are getting the profile right and you're getting the training right and the mentorship right and the leadership right. Let's, on the topic of talent, let's kind of go down that road a little bit further, because not every great service rep can become a great seller. So how should companies think about hiring for contact center sales? What would you recommend?
I think it comes down to more of a connection, right? And so we have tests, but some people have testophobia. We do interviews, but we have certain ways that we do them. I think that conversational selling is what we're looking for. And it starts with confidence. It starts with coachable, those certain things that we know. But you have to go deeper into the 5 or 10 minute interview and find out if they're right for which role. And hiring people is really important, that you put them in the right role at the right time with the right leadership. What are we doing? And how long is the training program? How long is the nesting program? How much are we going to give them in terms of tools to make them better? So it's not just one straight answer. There's a lot of things that are behind that.
So let me ask you the $1 million question that I bet you a lot of people in our audience is thinking. Can you train anyone to sell, or do you need the right profile?
Well, again, that's a trick question. You can't train anyone to do sales if they don't want to train to do sales.
Mm-hmm.
They have to want it. So if you want to become a great salesperson, you have to be willing to put in the time and the effort to do the job. And then you have to find the right coaches and trainers around them and leaders to make them better. But far too often in this business, you say why do programs fail is because they took a program's winding down or it's seasonal, and we took 20 of the best people on that one and we put them on this one. It's not fair to them. It's not the right way to do it. And so are they trainable? Are they coachable? I mean, can I teach someone to do outbound dialing who has a very soft personality and can take rejection? Probably no. But, if I take someone who is a great baseball player and understands that, to bat 300, you get out 7 times versus 3, probably they understand it. So it has to do with the background and the wherewithal of a person of what they're willing to put into the game to learn. You can't just force someone to do sales. That doesn't work.
It also makes me think of the great Brian Macias when he told us, PhD, poor, hungry, driven. Those are the
Yeah.
best kind of salespeople, right? They have to have that drive to want to be there, to want to succeed, the competitive nature. Money has to entice them greatly, right? Why else be there?
Yeah.
So I think, that alone makes up a really good profile of people to look into. Um, the next question is, what traits separate top performers from average agents?
When you look at your top performers, they usually all had a good mentor,
Mhm.
someone they can work with, someone that someone helped them build confidence and do all things. But you're also top performers do things on their own. I've talked about this to many people, like, what are they doing to make themselves better? There's a million podcasts, there's a million books, there's a million videos. Like, what am I doing every day to wake up to make myself better at my job?
Yep.
And so those top performers are usually putting in the work
Mhm.
every day to make themselves better. So when they go home at night, they're not just watching Wheel of Fortune or a baseball game, like they're listening to podcasts, they're reading books. One of the things that I'll say to top performers or bottom performers is, tell me the last sales book you read, or who
Yeah.
do you follow on a podcast, or what YouTube videos have you watched lately to make yourself better? And the ones that have a blank stare back at me are the reasons why they're not successful. You can't
Yeah.
just, we talked about this the other day. Tom Brady, who I hate, right? Because I'm a Jet fan. He had all these coaches around him. He had a training coach. He had a quarterback coach. He had a chef. He had all those players have coaches.
Yep.
In baseball, you got the catching coach, you got the hitting coach, you got the first base coach. So the top performers are using the tools around them to make themselves better. And today there's so many tools. Like, you could listen to the top 20 salespeople in the world on podcasts.
Yep. Yep. So getting the right people in the door is step one, but that's usually not enough, right? Um, good training is critical. So how should sales training differ from traditional contact center training?
The best trainers that I've seen, which I talked about earlier, are the ones that have been in the field,
Mhm.
have been out there and have pound the pavement, but the best training classes have to do with real life selling. So
Mhm.
again, move away from the flat PowerPoints for 3 weeks. And the real training starts when people go in nesting. And so rather than, jump into nesting after 2 or 3 weeks in the class, let's have some real time conversations and real time objections. And so one of the things that I like to do is go in front of a class and ask people 3 questions. Tell me your name, the last person you worked, and something that I'm always going to remember you by, and see if they can get up and talk.
Yeah.
And then, let's have a conversation. Let's have a pitch off. Let's have one in the morning, one in the middle of the day, and one at the end of the day of things we just learned. Make it interactive, make it conversational, because
Yep.
sales is conversational.
Yep.
It's not like care or tech support, where tech support, you go through certain things you have to do, care, you do certain things. It's conversational. I could take a call. I can take 3 calls in a row with 3 different personalities. I could have the layup, I could have the tire kicker, and I could have the person who just can't make a decision.
Yeah.
right? There's different scenarios. And so have as much real-time conversation and training as you can, real world. And that's why I like trainers that have been in the field, because they've overcome all those different objections.
Yeah. Role playing is key with successful sales training. 100%. There's even amazing AI technology out there that allows you to do real-time role playing with a generative AI bot. And every conversation you have with that bot is completely different, going back to the different personas that you're going to be engaging with, and it gives the seller practice. Right? It makes me
Yeah.
think of your story. You told me how you knocked on 100 doors, right? It's simulate that. Like, knock on 100 doors and make your pitch 100 times, and I promise you, you're gonna get better, and it's gonna become more natural. So the more role playing you could do in training for sales, the better. The worst thing you could possibly do is death by PowerPoint. Like,
Yeah, you bring up a great point. Like when I was younger and naive and stupid, I had some crazy jobs. My first one was at Mutual of Omaha, where I'd sit in people's living rooms and try to sell them Medicare supplements at 6 o'clock at night, wearing a suit and a tie, and getting thrown out of a house. And like you're still trying to close it. And so I
yep,
moved on from Mutual of Omaha. I sold security systems for businesses, and that's where I learned to knock on 100 doors in a strip mall. And boy, like you learn. And one of the things that you learn is, what my father taught me, is how to talk to people.
yeah,
If you can't talk to people, you won't be successful in sales. And many of people have heard this story before. When I was 15 years old, I wanted to go on spring break. I lived in New York. Everyone went to Florida for spring break. I asked my dad for $200, who was a hard ass, and said no. So when he came home from work, he said, we're going to go earn $200.
yeah,
My father was in the garment center. He had these rags, extra pieces, and we went to the first Sunoco station. He went out, said, follow me. He met Pat. He talked to Pat. They said something back and forth. Go get 4 bags, $20. I got $20 in my hand, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy. We went down the block to the Exxon. He looked at me and said, you're up, go. I went, what? He goes, you watched me. Now go sell on your own. Go figure it out, kid. I sweated. I stumbled. I mumbled. I sold 4 bags. And I got better. And that's real-time learning. And that's what you have to do. Like, you have to understand that, if you read the book Outliers, 10,000 hours before the Beatles were great. So, long-winded story, put them out there and let them fail a couple of times and
yeah.
hold them up. But that's why training should be real-time, pitch-offs and doing other things. People are book smart, but people are street smart.
Yep.
And so make them street smart, make them sales smart.
Yep. So I want to talk a little bit too about the accountability gap. So in high pressure environments, leaders often fall into policing instead of coaching. How do you train a manager to keep their team accountable without crushing morale?
So we brought this up before. I don't like the horror, the morale is down, or I don't like the morale word, period. Like, we're in sales. You're going to have bad days. Like,
Yep.
I don't care who you are. You can come in today and kill it. You can come in tomorrow and crush it. And then the next day, nobody talks to you.
Yep.
So the morale thing is like, oh, morale, Lauren gets better leads than I do. Lauren gets better calls than I do. She gets better routing than I do. So let's skip the morale. I think it goes back to one of your first questions was, is the room set up for success? Are we coaching people the right way? And so the first thing that leaders need to do is they have to understand that Michael may need a kick in the butt. Lauren needs a hug. Billy over there needs someone to pick up the phone and help him get over the finish line.
Yeah.
Good leaders have to know how to motivate their people,
Yep.
which goes back to, we said earlier, are you hiring the right people? Like, I'm in sales. I get ghosted. People hang up on me. Oh, the call was disconnected. No, they hung up.
Yeah.
Like, funny, you have 5 disconnects today, Lauren. You got 5 hangups. Like, I get it. You're going to get 1 or 2 on a cell phone, but there's a pattern here. So forget the morale. Let's go back to leadership and let's figure out, can they really, again, when you go into that room that I talked about in Indiana, had coaches and closers and trainers on the floor. That's what made that room so good, that there was failure was not an option. There were too many people there to help you over the finish line, to make you better and more efficient. That's what our leaders should be doing.
Yep. It's understanding not only how to motivate, but what motivates each individual, right? Like what is it that they're saving up for, or driving them? So I want to move from people to program design because structure matters. So how should companies think about incentives and compensation?
When I think of incentives, if you really want to get me going, is when we're giving grown adults candy. Like grown adults candy. I didn't close the sale for a Kit Kat bar.
Yeah.
As much as I like Kit Kat bars, I don't want a Kit Kat bar. So incentives work three ways, right? The first one is obviously money.
Yep.
The second one are gifts. And the third is recognition. Years ago, we had a contact center that had really high ceilings. And I was sitting in the Bank Atlantic Center arena looking up at the board and noticing, the banners from the ceiling. I'm like, that's what we should hang from our ceilings, banners.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this guy, Armando, he was crushing it. We put his banner up. He's the agent of the month in May.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Everybody wants their name up in lights.
Yep.
But Armando wants his back-to-back banner. So he got the next month.
Yep.
And guess what happened? Someone beat him. So that's the first one. Is we talk about the wall of fame, the recognition. There's nothing better than walking in a room and looking to the left and go, I was agent of the month in January, in March, in June.
Yep.
Right? That doesn't cost you anything, but that's personal recognition.
Yep.
Taking people out to dinner. The second one is the things we talk about. Like if I'm winning today or I'm having a power hour, am I going to win what? Am I going to win a washer, a dryer, a laptop, movie tickets? Like what's that? And third thing, which everybody wants, is cash. Cash is king, So, but far too many, we're going to drive the floor with Kit Kat bars and M&Ms today. No, you're just driving sugar. So think about it. And the best way to find out is ask your sellers what they want. Give the people what you want and you'll create winners.
Yep. Or have a president's club and people part of the president's club at the end of the year get to go on the cruise. I mean, something that's so attractive. Everybody wants it. Everyone's striving for it. So the next question I have for you is, what does momentum look like in a contact center? And how do you prevent it from stalling during that tough day or week?
Yeah. So let's go back to our leadership and let's go back to law of averages and data and understanding the ebb and flows and valleys. And so, you may be in a center where let's look at the data, and Monday is your highest sales day and obviously Sunday is your lowest. So if we're having a bad day on Sunday because call volume's down, we shouldn't be moping around. We know it's theirs, but coming in Monday, boy, I want to be on the Monday shift. I'm ready to go. This is where the money's made. So it goes back to the data. You're going to have those lulls. There's seasonality, there's outages, there's snowstorm. And so it goes back to that leader telling everybody, hey, in the Northeast today, there's a snowstorm. It's going to be a little slow. Let's do some coaching. Or team, our third Monday of the month is the best Monday every day, every month, the third Monday. Today's the third Monday. Who's crushing it? It goes back to data and analytics and using data to understand historical trends.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
I just read something that I loved. And it was called the goldfish mentality. Like sellers and sales leaders need to have the goldfish mentality because goldfish have very short-term memories. So if you have that bad day, have your goldfish mentality and come in the next day and forget about it, move on. And I loved that because it's so true. You will have bad days, but you will have amazing days. But you can't let yesterday affect today. You have to go into it with that positive mindset. Michael, what about, for those programs specifically that are about cross-selling and upselling? So it's a service interaction. We resolve the issue and now we're going to cross-sell, upsell. How do you balance sales goals with service metrics?
Again, going back to what we talked about earlier, real world training, the pivot, right? Solution and sell, upsell, cross-sell, listening skills. These don't come overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't teach someone listening skills. They have to earn it. They just do.
Yeah.
You can't teach someone conversational selling, they have to have it. And so one of the things that if you ever hear me do a sales boot camp or something like this, the first thing I would say to people is, hey, look, this may sound kind of crazy, but you want to get better at sales and upselling and cross-selling? You're on the grocery line next time. Turn around, look at the person behind you, look in their cart and say, oh, wow, is that good? I really wanted those. I was thinking about getting them. You're in an elevator, it's completely silent. Look down and say, cool shoes.
Yeah.
Going back to what I've said earlier, learn how to talk to people, because 3 people are going to give you 3 different answers. And it's not the same on every one to upsell, right? The script doesn't work. It's having that listening skills to when to place it and when to push and when to pull. But it all starts out with conversational selling and having listening skills. And the more you role play in training, the better you can get with different personalities. If I'm in a class of 22 people, I'm going to get at least 6 or 7 different personalities.
Yep.
And so the best we can do as leaders is, what are we doing in terms of the real world training? Cross-selling is a matter of listening. Now, I've told this story so many times, and I'll tell it again. My daughter played travel softball. Buy $99 Oakleys. She breaks them. We go back to Sports Authority. We buy another pair. Twice in a row, they asked me if I was interested in a warranty. I said no. They just read it from the script. Third time I'm there, kid's 16, 17, probably never had a job before, but someone trained him. Would you be interested in a warranty? $12.95, broke, stolen, lost, blah, 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 blah. I said no. He goes, well, how many of these you bought in the last year? I said 3. Well, if you had this warranty, they would be free. All you need to pay is shipping and handling. You wouldn't be out $300 right now. Sign me up. Conversational selling, rebuttal, listening skills. You said, can you teach people sales? He's a young kid.
Yep.
He was coaching and listening, conversational. He's having a conversation.
Yep.
Right. But how many times do you go into a store and they ask you if you're interested in the warranty and it's $19? You just say no and they go, okay.
It is listening combined with solution selling. Like, you need to be able to bring value and solve that consumer's problem. That is the best thing you could possibly teach any seller, is solve the customer's problem, figure out their pain point and solution, and figure out how to solve it. And
you talked about the secret sauce. The reason why our sales programs outpace other companies is the things that we do are intangibles. We were able to take a seasonality business using AI tools that would have taken 8 weeks to ramp, which we don't have over the holiday season, to 2 weeks, and able to get their revenue per interaction matching agents that have been doing it for months. So, coachable tools, things like that. That's where the secret sauce comes in. Is if you hire the right people and train them the right way and use the right AI tools, that's our secret sauce. That's why we win awards, because we build programs around making sure that we understand the KPIs, we understand the success metrics, but more importantly, you have the right people.
Yep.
Like, that's the key to success. That's the secret sauce. One tip, not telling you all of it.
Yeah. And so no conversation about contact center sales is complete without talking about AI. So how is AI changing contact center sales execution today?
Lots of different ways, but let's think about why I should be using AI tools. Again, interaction analytics, 2 calls per week per agent. Forget it. If you're doing that, we're having the wrong conversation. Coaching. I'm going to take Mike on the side and I'm going to coach him once. I'm going to put him back on the phones. How about I take Mike in the corner and he works on the AI conversational tool back and forth. And after 20 minutes, he's had 4 different gatekeepers to come across. And he's passed 3 out of the 4 gatekeepers. So guess what? We're going to put him back on the calls. Like co-pilots, knowledge bases. Like, these are things that are readily available to everyone. And if you're not using them, how are you making your teams better and faster and more efficient? Now, I will say this. There's a plethora of AI tools out there. The challenge with some of these tools is none of them have ever been in a contact center. They don't know how a contact center works. They don't understand workforce. They don't understand skilling. They don't know how to understand how to implement it. They don't understand that, there's 17 different CRMs that have to overlap in APIs. There's so many systems. And so what I would say is multivariate A/B test some of them. But when you're coming to the AI tools, talk to the experts like you and I and people that know what happens every day in a contact center world. to implement these tools the right way.
Yep. I'll also add too, there there are AI tools out there that will take 100% of your transcripts. It will scour them and basically pop recommendations. So here's what your top performers are doing really well. Here's where your bottom performers are struggling. It'll
Yeah.
give individual recommendations to every single seller. Here, Lauren, here's your last 5 calls, and these are even better ifs that you can do to improve for next time. Right? So it gives this real time advice for the seller, for the seller's leader, that everybody should be using and implementing. Going back to, you want that person to always want to do better. Well, those type of insights will help them grow as an individual salesperson. And
Here's
so,
a crazy thing. There's a question in here from a guy by the name of Guillermo that I just ran into in Guatemala. It's small world. We used to work together. Small world. So I got to jump on his question, which says, hey, Michael, any sales podcast that you would recommend? Well, the first one I'd recommend is ours, which
yeah,
is RevOps Unlocked. So you could always go to my podcast.
yeah.
But the two of them that I really like, Guillermo, there's a thing called the Outbound Squad by Jason Bay. Top of the line. Another one that I have is the Sales Hunter, but you can ping me offline and I'll send you a Teams message. The best thing I say on sales podcasts is either go to Spotify, go to Apple, type in sales podcast and listen to 4 or 5 of them of what you're trying to achieve. But Jason Bay is the best for outbound. No one ever better. Okay, back to your questions.
And as we start to wrap up here, Michael, please, if you have any questions for Michael or myself, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we will get to them. So as we kind of wrap up here, Michael, I'm going to give you some rapid fire. If a company wants to improve their contact center sales program tomorrow, what's the first thing that they should fix and or look at?
Yeah, so we have WBRs, MBRs, QBRs. We have all these different things, and that team presents PowerPoints and they tell you all of that. I call BS. How about we do this? How about I take my trainer, recruiter, ops leader, account manager, I take 6 or 7 of them. We throw the PowerPoint out this week, and I ask them the questions about my KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
What are the KPIs? Can the ops leader answer it? What are the goals? Where are we in terms of A, B, C, and D? Know your business. Your sales program with your partner, especially an outsourced partner, is predicated on results. If the people hiring don't understand the KPIs and know where the people are 60 days or 90 days from they hired, check that mark, no good.
Mm-hmm.
From your trainers, have they measured their last 4 or 5 waves? How many graduated? How many are attrited? How many are performing of the top 20%? Let's go to my ops leaders or my team leads. Let's ask them if they know the current KPIs and how many people on their team are successful or not. If you want a really successful outsourced sales program, it starts with about 7 or 8 individuals from that organization, and they have to know your business. If they don't know your business, you're with the wrong partner.
Yeah.
And I preach that data is what rules. So the first thing, I know it's a rapid fire question, but do the people that you hired know the data? Period.
Yep. And I have another question that came in here. Michael, in your opinion, will AI replace sellers?
It's a yes, no, maybe answer. So an AI bot can sell me auto insurance because there's no negotiation. Allstate, Geico, State Farm. It's not like I can say, hey guys, you quoted me for my whole family $3,500. Anyway, I can get it for $33,000. They would say, yes, lower the deductible, higher the deductible, right? At some point, the AI tool will be good, fast enough to do that. Would you buy a mortgage from an AI bot? Like TV, internet, phone, I have questions, I have so it really, somewhere down the line maybe, but right now, when it comes to sales, not care or tech support, people buy more from people they like and trust. It's just inevitable. I'm so tired, and I did a posting on this. Every day I get 2 or 3 calls about the mortgage I didn't ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Telling me I've been approved. And I can't even rebuttal it. All I can do is hang up, and it keeps coming. So it's making me more frustrated about AI voice than anything else. And if you're like me and you get these calls every day, it's not a good thing for our industry. And so we need better tools. How about I answer it that way?
Yeah, I think you're right. Because when you think about AI engaging a consumer, it makes me think of the reading off the script, right? Your Sports Authority eyeglass story. So easy to say no to a bot.
Yeah.
A lot harder to say no to a human being who is engaging and caring and empathetic and listening. And um, so that's one thought. The other thought is I think AI to help with lead qualification makes
Mhm.
sense.
Absolutely.
Right? I also think it depends on the product you're selling, to your point, like a mortgage, like the number one most expensive asset that most consumers have. Um, Maybe not. So I do think like the part of the sales process, we'll start to see differences there. And there's another question too that came in, which they want to know, Michael, what is one hiring mistake that you have seen companies make over and over again?
They need a class of 22 agents. And I say agents, not sellers. They hired agents, not sellers. They
Hmm.
should be saying, I need 22 sellers.
Yep.
If you only hired 18 sellers, go with the 18. Don't take the additional ones because they're agents. Far too many times we chase butts and seats versus great sellers. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? KYB, know your business, of attrition rates, who made it through or not. When it comes to sales, the leads are gold. The
Hmm.
inbound calls are gold. Why do I want to give them to non-performers just to fill seats? I always say to people, and this is another thing that you can talk about with your partners, I don't look at how many butts are in seats. I look at how much revenue is driven by that seller every day.
Hmm.
In sales programs, we shouldn't measure that I need 50 people, because I can tell you that I can build a program with 40 people better than most people can do with 50 people because of the secret sauce. They're caught up on, okay, we have to hire 50 people. So you pay for 50, but 37 of them are performing. How about I'll give you 37 or 40 rock stars? You don't have to pay for the other 10, because I'll drive more revenue per interaction than other people by the way that we hire and train and do all of that. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to what I said earlier: how much revenue is that seller driving each day? Because
Yep.
I get two people converting at 25%, they can sell the 1995 internet, and the other one can sell the $59 a month internet. Have the same conversion rate. At the end of the 36 months, they drove $3,900. The other one drove 21. Which one are you matching? So you're matching conversion or revenue? That's the biggest mistake they make. They just chase filling seats, fill
Yeah.
in.
Yes. And I think we have time for one more question. And the question is around outbound. So the question is for outbound dialing, um, is there a secret sauce for driving up a higher connect rate?
Oh boy, you got to give me a hard one. Um, yeah, there's a lot of secret sauces around outbound, and I think we need a whole nother session on that. What I will say is that when you're doing outbound power dialing, one, you have to have the right technology to power dial. You also have to have the right data person around you to understand list segmentation of higher propensity to connect, higher propensity to close, what time you should be dialing, when you should be dialing. A little different than inbound. There's certain patterns. You don't dial a restaurant from 11 to 2 or from 4 to 7, right? You don't dial a doctor's office between 12 and 1 because they're all closed. Like, there's a lot of different things that we can talk about. But we do have one from my friend Gesner here, who wants to know, with clients being overwhelmed by constant automatic messaging and AI generated outreach flowing every channel, it's harder than ever. What separates the companies that stand out from the ones that simply address the noise? Here's what I would say: there's too much noise and not enough action. You have to build AI interactive bots that can answer questions immediately. And so, what's happening now for Gessner is a lot of companies are not putting what Lauren's talking about outbound. they're not putting in the right formulas. They're saying, okay, it's cheaper for me to just flood these AI tools and bots out there. And if my connect rate is at 2%, okay, it's at 2%. It's not costing me as much. It's actually costing you more. It's costing you your brand reputation.
Mm-hmm.
It's also going to cost you a TCPA violation from the FCC at some point because
Mm-hmm.
they're going to figure out they got enough complaints. I think that everyone should be testing these AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying not to do it, but what I'm saying is that go back to the people like us who do this every day and help you build your program with blended AI tools for outreach or blended AI tools for inbound. This is a sales program. Like, people buy more. It goes back to my early days. I came from eBay before I got into the contact center world. We don't need contact centers. We buy everything online. We measured revenue per pixel. Revenue per pixel, just like a store measures revenue per square foot. So I got into this contact center world, and I remember them telling me we're going to take phone calls. I'm like, we don't need phone calls. I realized in 2 weeks, our online conversion rate is like 3 or 4%. Our voice conversion rate is 33 to 35%.
Mm-hmm.
We drive 2.5 more times revenue on voice than we do in shopping cart.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why we don't talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Right people, right seat, right product. Humans drive more revenue per interaction than an AI bot does. I'm not saying 5 years from now. I'm not saying 10 years from now. I'm saying for the rest of the year, if you want to drive more revenue on your inbound or outbound leads, humans will do it.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere down the line, it's a different conversation. So anyway,
yeah. And I think that is a wrap, Michael. I think we ran out of time here for more questions, but it has been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate everybody tuning in to today's LinkedIn Live, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one next month.
Same here. Thank you, guys. If you want to reach out, ping us. Love to talk, even 5 or 10 minutes. If you're struggling on your sales campaign, no cost, just conversation. Ping Lauren and I. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.